Welcome back to Spiritual Summaries. If you've been with us through our comprehensive deep dives into Genesis and Exodus, you know that we aim for thorough and meaningful exploration of the Bible. We're thrilled to have you here as we dive into the next great installment, the book of Leviticus, focusing on chapters 1 to 6 for this video. Leviticus is a guidebook of divine laws and rituals that paints a picture of holiness, sacrifice, and atonement. Though we're using the King James Version for our study, you're welcome to follow along in whichever version you prefer. So, sit back, grab your Bible, and let's get into the nitty-gritty of Levitical law and order. Are you ready? Chapter 1, the intricacies of burnt offerings. In Chapter 1, the stage is set for a complex array of rituals, laws, and offerings. God opens up a direct line of communication with Moses, outlining in great detail the laws concerning burnt offerings. This is not a mere ritual. It's a carefully orchestrated act of devotion and dedication to God. The offering could be from the herd, the flock, or even birds, each type of animal representing different social standings in the community, thus making the offering accessible to all. For cattle and flock animals like sheep and goats, they had to be male, without blemish, signifying the purity and completeness of the offering. God provides meticulous instructions: how the offerer must lay hands on the animal, how the blood is to be splashed against the sides of the altar, and how the animal is to be dissected and arranged. Every single step bears symbolic weight and spiritual importance. The priests play a crucial role in this, tasked with presenting these offerings in the correct way, ensuring that the ritual is not just an empty act, but one that honors God and upholds His laws. In summary, the first chapter of Leviticus serves as an introductory framework for the various offerings and rituals that are to come. It provides a detailed glimpse into the sacred rites that governed Israelite life, emphasizing the deep spiritual and symbolic layers of the acts of offering. Chapter 2, the meaning and rituals of grain offerings. After addressing the complexities of burnt offerings, Chapter 2 of Leviticus turns our attention to grain offerings. Unlike animal sacrifices that highlight the theme of atonement and forgiveness, grain offerings are usually voluntary and act as a tribute to God's provision. The offerings can be raw flour, baked, grilled, or fried, but they must be of fine flour and mixed with oil and frankincense to give off a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Interestingly, there is a prohibition against leaven and honey in grain offerings. Leaven often symbolizes corruption in biblical literature, and its absence here emphasizes the purity required in offerings. Each offering is also seasoned with salt, referred to as the salt of the covenant, which is a symbol of permanence and incorruptibility. The priest plays a central role once again, burning a portion of the offering to generate an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering belongs to the priest as a portion of their sustenance. Through this, the chapter brings out the shared responsibility between the divine and the earthly, linking spiritual service and physical sustenance. Chapter 2 explores the intricate nature of grain offerings, focusing on their voluntary status and symbolic richness. It continues the narrative of Leviticus by emphasizing the sacred rituals that offer both a tribute to God and sustain the community of priests. Chapter 3, the peace offering, a communion with God. In this chapter, we delve into the nuances of the peace offering, a type of sacrifice that serves multiple purposes. Unlike burnt and grain offerings, the peace offering is distinctive because it is shared among the offerer, the priest, and God, signifying a communal relationship. The animal to be offered can be from the herd or the flock, either male or female, but it must be without blemish. The offerer places their hand on the animal's head before slaughtering it, transferring symbolic ownership and responsibility. Various parts of the animal are burned as food for the fire to the Lord, while other portions are set aside for the priests. Fat portions are specifically dedicated to God, as fat symbolizes richness and abundance in the biblical context. Chapter 3 of Leviticus offers profound insights into the concept of divine-human relationships through the peace offering. It's a ritual that not only fulfills religious mandates but also nourishes community bonds and underscores the abundance of God's blessings. Chapter 4, the sin offering, atonement for unintentional sins and restoring the sacred order. In the complexity of religious observance, Chapter 4 stands as a meticulous blueprint for the sin offering, a specialized form of sacrifice designed to atone for unintentional sins. The chapter distinguishes between various kinds of unintentional offenses, categorizing them based on who commits the transgression, be it the high priest, the congregation, tribal leaders, or the lay people. Here, the ritual is a deep dive into the psychology of unintentional sin. It acknowledges that even the most devout individuals, the high priest or religious leaders, can falter. The remedy for these lapses involves a distinct set of sacrificial procedures. A young bull is required for the high priest's sins or those of the community, symbolizing the severity of the offense when it is committed by those closest to God. Leaders offer a male goat, underscoring the responsibility they bear for their community. Ordinary individuals bring a female goat or a lamb, indicating a different level of culpability. The sacrificial act is more than ritualistic, it is almost surgical in its precision. Blood from the sacrificed animal is not merely discarded, it is purposefully sprinkled on the altar or smeared on parts of the tabernacle. These actions carry weighted symbolism, as the blood serves as a purifying agent, restoring sanctity to the sacred space that may have been spiritually contaminated by unintentional sins. In this intricate chapter, the sin offering emerges not merely as a ritual but as a nuanced, multi-layered process. It balances divine commandments with human fallibility, offering a structured pathway to restore spiritual purity and mend one's relationship with God. Chapter 5, The Guilt Offering, addressing doubtful sins and material trespasses. This chapter presents another layer to the mosaic of Israelite sacrificial practices, the guilt offering. This offering covers a unique category of sin, where the guilt is not entirely clear or involves some form of material loss to another person. It demonstrates a keen understanding of the gray areas in human morality and offers a remedial course of action. The chapter outlines specific instances that would require a guilt offering, such as withholding testimony or touching something unclean. The ambiguity in these cases is dealt with through a detailed process of confession and restitution. Beyond just presenting an offering, the sinner must confess the wrongdoing openly and make amends, sometimes adding a fifth to the wrong value, cementing the understanding that reconciliation is not merely vertical, between man and God, but also horizontal, between one human and another. The offerings vary based on what the individual can afford, extending from a lamb or a goat to 2 turtle doves or pigeons for those of lesser means, and even to a grain offering for the extremely poor. This sliding scale captures God's understanding of human limitations and socio-economic disparities. Through its structured processes and deep understanding of human psychology, Chapter 5 extends the scope of divine grace to the often murky realms of doubt, guilt, and social ethics, allowing for tangible reparations and spiritual renewal. Chapter 6, Law of Burnt Offering and Grain Offering, the Persistence of Sacrifice. In this chapter, we find an expansion on the laws concerning burnt offerings and grain offerings. The text explains the specific rituals involved, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a continuous fire on the altar. In this chapter, the ceremonial duties of the priests are elaborated, from the donning of linen garments to the disposal of the ashes. All these actions serve to underline the gravity and sanctity of these offerings. The burnt offerings, meant for atonement, are to be left on the altar hearth until the next morning, with the priest ensuring the fire on the altar keeps burning. The grain offering, another form of devotion, is partially burnt with a reminder that it is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. In essence, Chapter 6 encapsulates the concept of ongoing sacrifice. Whether it is the persistence of the altar's fire or the priest's meticulous duties, this chapter speaks of the never-ending efforts to maintain a state of spiritual purity and devotion to God. This chapter serves as a vivid reminder of the continuous effort and sincerity required in spiritual practices, teaching us about the enduring nature of devotion and the perpetual flame of faith. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the first 6 chapters of Leviticus, as we've delved into the intricate laws and rituals that shape the spiritual lives of the Israelites. Just as we've previously explored the complexities of Genesis and Exodus, we continue our exploration into the sacred texts of the Bible with Leviticus. Today, we examined in detail the laws surrounding offerings and sacrifices, the roles of the priests, and the perpetual responsibilities required to maintain a state of spiritual purity and closeness to God. In our next video, we will be covering more chapters from Leviticus, as we continue to unlock the ancient wisdom held within these sacred pages. Rest assured, the text we're studying is from the King James Version, but you're welcome to follow along with whichever version resonates with you. Thank you for watching Spiritual Summaries. If you found this video insightful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future Bible studies. See you in the next video, where we'll further unfold the teachings of Leviticus. Until then, may your journey for spiritual enlightenment be fulfilling and profound.